Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Anfisa, investment officer at Skyrora, an Edinburgh-based rocket company. During recent years, we face a growing capacity problem over the launch market. Even though small satellite production has grown 6 times during the last 5 years, the launch services have failed to keep up. And you say that this problem is not that actual anymore in US, but in UK, in Europe, it is still very important, and there is still a bottleneck. For instance, Glasgow produces much more satellites than any other town in the world. And at Skyrora, we see this as a huge opportunity for us to step in and address this balance problem. So we develop and build small, dedicated, versatile rockets to deploy small satellites to space from northern part of Scotland. We do understand that we need to move fast, so we do nothing from scratch. We take technical side of Black Arrow, which is prominent rocket back in 70s. We upgraded it with modern solutions in avionics, ground equipment, engineering stuff, and reinforced this combination with the Ukrainian heritage, meaning ex-Soviet space heritage we have access to through our R&D center in Ukraine. We're a young company, but we are very dynamic. During less than 2 years, we already have all critical stages of the rocket developed and tested in-house. We have established 6 workshops over 3 countries, Slovakia, Ukraine, and Great Britain, and operate from 2 offices, Ukraine and UK. We have signed 18 LOIs as for now, with a value at about 200 million, and it is just the beginning, so this number grows from month to month. Let me also mention that we have also established our eco-fuel production and our oxidizer distillation facilities in Ukraine and in Slovakia. As you can see at this slide, we already had our launches happen. So we had our first launch last August, and it was called by BBC the first successful commercial launch ever. The second launch happened just 1 week ago, and I'm happy to invite you all to our next 2 larger sized rockets to be launched this year, and one of them is suborbital. Believe me, those are really great unforgettable events. Market strategy of Skyrora is based on the combination of factors, such as proximity to European customers, quite low as for now competition over European market, development of our own modular private spaceport, and of course governmental support. So we target to capture 7% of European market and 20% of British market during the first 10 years of our operations. And we do understand that we will compete over these markets with the bigger guys. Of course, all of us know Rocket Lab, Firefly, Vector, but the real competitors for us are PLD Space and Orbix. We will compete over the same niche in the same market. But what distinguishes us from them? First of all, it's our technology. We built really dedicated rocket. It is 3-stage, and the 3rd stage is reignitable in space, meaning that we can deploy our payloads exactly to the maximum efficient orbits required by our customers. We use HTP, hydrogen peroxide, as our oxidizer. And the beauty of this solution is that we don't need any expensive, complicated cryogenic infrastructure. It makes us more reliable, stable, weather-tolerant, perfect fit for UK launch. We use our own fuel. We made kerosene from non-recyclable plastic, and we call it ecosene. As I told, we already have development of our modular private spaceport. It will add a lot of flexibility and independency to our operations in the future. And the last but not least is the cost of talent. We have more than 100 people working for us in Ukraine, in the Dnipro city. And as you may know, Dnipro is the center of ex-Soviet space industry. The most rockets had been built there. Even the Zenit rocket is from Dnipro. It is the most beautiful and prominent rocket ever. So we have cumulatively 200 years of rocket experience. We have this experience and we have strong business experience. Our founder, Vladimir, has been developed during all his previous life multiple successful IT companies. He lived in California and now he lives in UK. He is supportive, very supportive to our business, and he can dedicate himself right now completely to his passion in space at Skyrora. Business model for Skyrora is quite typical for any launcher and built on the price per kilo to be launched, with an average profit margin of 30% as for now. This year, we have opened our first external venture round of $6 million. Please mind that we have already invested the project $4 million, and we do believe this strategy, we do believe this potential, that our founder has committed to invest another $25 million during next years of fundraising. To sum up, let me say that Skyrora is a prominent company to become, just in a few years, to become the leading space private company to provide comprehensive launch services for our customers and become one-stop shop for our clients. We are entering launch market at 2023, and we are happy to invite you all to join our ambition plan and this initiative to enable space future in Europe. Thank you.
So, I love Black Arrow. I've got a penchant for Black Arrow, and they built that orbital class vehicle for £10 million back in the late 60s. So I am familiar with the technology. I love NAPA as well. Question I've got here is, obviously, if you're going to be launching from northern Scotland, you're talking about sun-sink and polar. You're not going anywhere near equatorial from there. And your market size here is a little skewed, I think. $5.3 billion for the UK. Is there actually $5.3 billion left in the UK at all? I mean, that's a big number.
But please mind, it's cumulative number for 10 years. It's not for 1 year.
Okay, for indigenous launch out of the UK.
And you know that Great Britain has announced their plan to double their market share, which they have at the moment. And they are extremely supportive. And even given that we are one of the private companies, private launchers, there are not a lot of them, they have already committed to invest us and to support us financially. And to be honest, this is the reason why we are raising money from external guys as well, VC guys, because their precondition is that we have some, validated fund to step in, and it unlocks our financial side from them, from Scottish Investment Bank, and in the form of equity and grants.
I guess I'm kind of curious. Most of the companies we've been talking about so far have been American, and we're all pretty familiar with the American small launch market. I'm curious what kinds of, if you could talk more about the advantages you have about, I know you had a slide that was a little bit about this, but if you could talk a little bit more about how being a European provider will benefit you, because at least from what I've seen, a lot of the small launch market is fairly global, and companies like Planet will launch on Indian launchers and so forth. And could you speak more about your relationships or whatever government programs would give you a leg up over all the rocket labs and vectors of the world?
By some analytics, UK produces up to 40% of all satellite production value. And they have zero launch capacity there. And of course, it adds us a lot of advantages in comparison to, let's say, Rocket Lab or Vector, who operate mainly here. Of course, there is chance that they can step in British market. But for us, it's much more easier to do because we're already there. We already have all those connections with the government, with another satellite producers, with our customers. And I think it gives us a lot of advantages to be there in this area, first of all. And secondly, let me mention that we are really efficient company because, as you see, our progress for 2 years is, I think, unique one. And this is another reason why we can overpassed and be quicker and faster than Rocket Lab or Firefly even on our market.
Quicker and faster in what way? In the sense of being able to get customers flying faster, or did you mean something else?
I mean development, first of all, and delivering all our promises, and of course getting customers and getting like LOIs signed and real agreements signed, because as for now, 18 LOIs, so we are 2 years, so every month we have new agreements signed. And as soon as we have our first orbital test successful in 2022, we are getting to get money already. I don't think that Vector will have this opportunity as soon as we can have.
Are you saying you already have pre-launch revenues?
No, not now.
You have LOIs.
LOIs, yes.
And as you talk to your customers, it's really exciting to see all the emerging space agencies in Europe and just all over the world. So who would you say is becoming maybe a leader for you in terms of that target market for a space agency that will be launching with you and capable? Because there's a question of timing here and having that marketplace vibrant and having those customers.
Do you mean, are we planning to have European Space Agency contracts, government contracts? As for now, we are working hard on private contracts. Potentially from next year, we will dedicate ourselves more to governmental contracts, but I think it will be much easier to do when we get their financial support. It will unlock another doors for us. As for now, we target mainly private companies.
Were you the group that were trying to get a launch facility in Newfoundland a couple of years ago as well in Canada? That wasn't you?
We're just 2 years old.
Do you face any regulatory problems over there? I'm not familiar with what Great Britain.
Yeah, thank you for asking this, because it is probably the main problem of our company and the whole industry. Because there is regulation for large launches and big payloads and for big companies, but for private small rockets, it's still problematic. And even though we had our 2 launches happen, it was really a nightmare to go through all these regulations and discussions. But again, UK has announced their plans, and they work hard to make maximum favorable conditions for private companies, and we negotiate and we're in talk with them on a daily basis, participating on all their round tables, because they are making this regulation happen right now. Probably and hopefully till the end of this year, we will have them ready. But as for now, it's quite difficult even to launch our small rockets I was telling you about.